Hello, everybody. Scott Fuller here with another edition of the East Bay Real Estate Market Minute. We've got a great episode for you today. I'm joined today by Denae Budde with Budde Law Group, and Denae is a real estate attorney, and today we're going to be talking about different ways to hold title for property owners.
Thanks for having me, Scott.
Okay, I appreciate you being here. We're seeing a lot of scenarios where somebody owns a property, they think that they have their property vested a certain way, and maybe the spouse passes away, and then all of a sudden, oops, there's a surprise. They were holding property a different way than they probably should have been. They didn't consult with an attorney or somebody about this ahead of time, and in a lot of cases, it can be a big mess and cost a lot of money. It might end up in probate, right? And so that's what we're trying to avoid. So the purpose of today's topic is to kind of talk about different ways of holding title so we can avoid some of these surprises a little bit later on down the road. So Denae, again, thanks for being here today. So tell us a little bit of the more common ways that people are holding title in California.
Generally, the default is tenant in common, and this can be for couples or for family members or just friends. As a couple, you can also hold it as joint tenants. You don't have to be married. Community property would be for married couples.
Okay, and so a lot of times we hear community property with right of survivorship. What exactly does that mean, and how's that different?
For community property, so if a husband and wife buy some property and then hold it as community property, when one spouse dies, the other spouse gets the entirety of the property, and they get the step up in basis to that point in time.
Okay, so what we don't want to have
happen. Tax basis, I should say.
Tax basis, right?
For the reassessment.
So what we don't want to have a situation is where one spouse dies and it doesn't automatically go to the surviving spouse, right? And, so maybe there's a way that the properties are vested, but they don't understand that might be an issue later on down the road. So here's what I see a lot is when people are they're buying a house or sitting at the closing table, signing all of their paperwork, they get this document on how they want to vest, and this might be the first time that they've seen this document, maybe the first time they've seen some of these terms. And so they're looking at this like, okay, I've got to pick one of these choices. And a lot of times they're like, I don't know what to pick. And so they're asking the notary or whoever's signing them, which they can't give advice on this because this becomes legal advice. So what should people do ahead of time to be able to, kind of be prepared for that?
Well, they should if they have an estate planning attorney, they should talk to an estate planning attorney, because one way I didn't mention is if they have a trust, they'll want to hold it in their trust. They can later transfer it to the trust. If they have a prior marriage, there may be issues if there's any type of prenuptial agreement, but it's a good idea to talk to either if you have a family law attorney or estate planning attorney, or just talk to, a real estate attorney, or even look, there's
like yourself,
like myself, right? As far as what are the options, and it's not an irreversible problem as long as you catch it early on. But you do want to pick your vesting choice. Had a situation where brother and sister actually thought they had it in joint tenancy, and because if you don't specify, the default is always tenants in common. Brother now died. Sister is trying. There are some fast procedural ways to deal with this, but that became a problem. That thought they had it differently than they did.
And I've even seen situations where people are creating their own deeds in order to save some money, right?
Yes.
And it all of a sudden goes to probate, and they're shocked, thinking, "Well, we did this. Well, you did it. You used the right form." But there's a few words that you forgot to put in at the end, which gave a right of survivorship. And so that's some things that we sometimes see as well.
Yeah, I think oftentimes when people do their own deeds, they're trying to save money on the short end, but in the long end, it doesn't. Because if they don't do it properly, you can leave people. We have situations where someone's interest gets left out. They get married and they think they hold it one way, and then they don't transfer it properly. That interest stays the way it was originally received, and then they transfer it, and then they die, and you've got this quarter interest in this property. It can be really a mess.
Yeah.
It's also not, from a title insurance perspective, it's not an insured deed.
Okay. Big problem. We want to help people avoid those types of things. So let's say for somebody who's bought a property a long time ago, they sign paperwork and they're thinking, okay, you've opened our eyes now. We're not sure how we're actually holding title. How can they check?
They can check if they're not planning on doing, if they're going to an estate planning attorney. I'm not a estate planning attorney. Usually they're going to then be transferring it into a trust most likely, and their estate planning attorney will assist them with that. But if they just want to look and they don't know, they can check online usually and get the basic information for the recorded document, and then go to the recorder's office and get a copy of the deed, and it will show how they took title.
Yep. Okay, perfect. Any other words of advice that you would give people to kind of avoid some of these types of scenarios that you probably see come across your desk pretty often?
Don't save on the short end because it will cost you a lot more in the long end.
Absolutely. We see that all the time. So, okay, perfect. Well, I hope that's helpful for everybody. Denae, thank you so much for coming by and giving us some of this great information. If you have any questions for Denae, let me know. We'll get you in contact with her. Anything real estate related that you would need for, real estate attorney. She's excellent, and she'd be happy to have a consultation. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hope you're having a great day, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care.